Hello, Darshan Maharaja here. Today I have with me Avtar Singh Rakhra, who is a businessman and a noted media personality in Punjabi language. Welcome, Avtar bhai.
बहुत धन्यवाद जी दर्शन जी थैंक यू सो मच फॉर इनवाइटिंग मी इट्स ऑलवेज अ प्लेजर टू टॉक टू यू एज ऑलवेज
Thank you so much. No, you posted this video today in Punjabi about these fake refugee claims, and I watched it, and immediately I thought that this is some very relevant information that we need to share with wider audience. So I thought we'll record in English so that it can reach more people.
Sure.
And thank you again for making yourself available at such a short notice.
My pleasure, sir. My pleasure, as always. Yeah.
No, we try to inform people about what we see are the facts and real information, and that we are able to do it in today's technology is something to be grateful for. Now, I
Definitely.
noticed that you were talking about two specific types of fraud, we can call it, frankly,
Mm.
in refugee claims. One is when the people come here as international students, they are trying to extend their stay, and when they cannot, then the last resort they take is to refugee apply as a refugee claim. And secondly, the people who had the intention of applying for refugee status right from their start of journey in India. So let's talk about the first one, and then we'll talk about the second one. About the international students, how do you see this situation operating on the ground?
And Darshan ji, good points you made. As we all know, there were a lot of international students who I think just who wanted to be in Canada, and they just abuse the system of being an international student. There's no ifs and buts about it. Now there are, I think, lesser genuine students, but most of the students that came over here, they basically bought their way into Canada. Now I don't know why it took so long for the government to realize this, and finally they're starting to take some actions, some of the actions they should have taken earlier. There's a lot of an outcry from public as well that a lot of these students are bogus, fake students. They're not real. I think the last resort they're using right now is refugee status. I have watched numerous videos by immigration consultants, so-called immigration consultants or specialists who make these videos even on our platform, YouTube platform, and other social medias, that if you cannot settle down as a student, apply for the refugee status, asylum case. Now, this is not new, Darshanji, as you know, you're from the community too, and I've been in Canada for almost 50 years now. The refugee cases started popping up in 1980s and 1990s. 1980s, we saw a lot of people coming to Canada as refugees from South Africa, Uganda, Ghana, Nigeria, Ethiopia, Somalia, for whatever reasons, war, famine, or political asylum. We also saw in 1977 the situation with the Vietnam and Cambodia. We had a lot of Vietnamese refugees come in as boat people. Right thereafter, we started seeing we started hearing personally started hearing cases about people coming from India as refugees. Now, a lot of the people who came over from Punjab area, they used the excuse as Khalistan, that they were Khalistanis, they were being oppressed. They wanted a different state in India, and their ideology did not meet the Indian government at the time, which was Congress Party. So a lot of these people took the asylum, came to Canada as refugees. There were a couple of incidents where people, there was a public outrage in 1986, I believe. Um, there were about a boatload of about 153 Tamil people, Sri Lankans, who came on a boat at the East Coast, and they applied for their political asylum as refugees. About a year later, in 1987, I believe, a boat came over from Germany. They dropped off a load of about 174 Indian, mostly Sikhs, on the East Coast and Nova Scotia. They also applied for the refugees. Now, now what's happening? There's a difference right now. The people from India have been coming to Canada for a very long time. And I'll go a little bit back, and the reason I'm going back is I'm kind of coming to your first question, actually. In 1913, I believe it was in November, there were 38 mostly Sikh Punjabis in Vancouver who were ordered to be deported back to India. And they did not apply for refugee status at that time because there was no such thing. But the judge overruled the immigration department at the time, saying that these people came in the proper way from Japan on a passenger liner called Panama Maru. And about a year later, not even a year, a few months later, in May 14, 1914, which we know, there were 376 Indians. They came on a chartered passenger liner. They chartered a ship from named Kamagata Maru from Japan, and they came because the one of the law was that you could not immigrate or you can come to Canada directly from India, from South Asia. So they kind of used that Japanese ship, a liner, passenger liner, to come to Canada that way. And we all know that became famous as Kamagata Maru incident. Now, when the Indians started coming, a lot of them did settle down, Darshanji, as you're aware, that I was talking about in the 1980s. It has come to the forefront again that a lot of these students, especially from studying in Conestoga College, those were the first reports coming in, as they exercised or they exhausted all their options of staying in Canada. And this is one way for them to stay in Canada, is to apply for refugee status. Canada has allowed the refugees over the years. Now, we've been following since 1976. It was called, I believe, Immigration Refugee Act. That was changed after September 11, 2001. We all know what happened. The entire world basically changed. Because of the security reasons, the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, IRPA, I think it's called, it was changed in 2002. Before that, it replaced, as I said, 1976 Immigration Act. So a lot of these people don't fall under the same category as the 1980s refugees that came from India. And you're right, there's I don't have the exact number. I don't know if you have the exact number, but there are thousands of students from Conestoga College alone that have actually applied for political asylum.
Just to interject, that number is over 12,000 for the year of 2023, which is a 157% increase over the previous year.
Wow.
And now that the work permit regime is being tightened, I expect that number to increase similarly in 2024 as well.
I kind of have a different feelings, Darshanji. If you look at it now, even the public knows that the students kind of abuse the Canadian system to come over here. And now, once again, I think they're abusing the system again to remain in Canada. Once you've exhausted all your options to remain in Canada legally, I think this is their last resort. Now, what's troublesome right now is, as I talked about in my video, I believe it was posted this morning, is that there was a lot of immigration consultants or so-called specialists in India who basically feasted on these international students. They were sending them left and right, even after plus two. Plus two is basically grade 12, which I think is they're very young to come here and they're very immature at the time to come over here. Now they found another way of sending them. That is they're actually making up fraudulent cases in India to send these people as refugees to Canada. Your education is faked. Your property is fake. Your bank accounts are this is all tailored just to send you to Canada. So I think they found another way. The agents have found another way to send people from India to Canada as refugees, which I think is very, very alarming.
So just to understand, they create all these fake documentation to get a visitor visa. And then once they arrive here, they make a asylum claim. Is that what's happening?
That's exactly what's happening. And as you know, the one of our immigration rule is that once you come to Canada, regardless if you come by a sea, a port, or you come by airport these days by a plane, once you arrive here, you have a right to apply for refugee cases. They won't send you back. Once you come here and says, I'm a refugee, they won't send you back. Now, your case is handled by IRB. Your file is handed over to IRB, which is Immigration Refugee Board, and you can remain in Canada. You can work in Canada uh, till your case is actually finalized. Either you get accepted as a refugee, or you're declined. And if you're declined, you're deported back. And if you're accepted, you get to stay in Canada. And I think a lot of people, as I'm repeating myself again, that a lot of people are abusing that system. They have been, they are, and they will be until we actually somehow restrict or rearrange our Immigration Act again.
Right, but in the meantime, while their case is being processed, they can get married, have children. Now the child has a right to stay in Canada, and you cannot separate the family. So as time passes, uh, it gets more and more complicated, as I see.
A good point, Darshanji, very good point. I was watching a video on social media, and one of this consultant was saying um, the perks, the advantages of being a refugee. So, of course, when you come here, the government is going to take care of you. If you're genuine a refugee, as I said before, there was like a famine or like a boat people who came from Vietnam or people who came from Somalia or people Serbia. There's tons of incidents that happened in the world, and these people needed help. Um, and now to sit here and make a video of saying, yeah, come to Canada. Canada's going to give you free bus passes. They're going to give you subsidized housing. They're going to take care of your family. Your family can still come and visit you. Now, the times are different right now. At the time in 1980s, when a lot of refugees came from India, it was a Congress government. And we all know especially in the Punjab area, when the Golden Temple was attacked, that's the highest, holiest Sikh shrine in the world. Now the government is different. The BJP, or people call it the Modi government. Now there are murmurs in India that things have been said from some of the member parliaments from the BJP that, hey, if you want to go and apply as a refugee anywhere in the world, go right ahead. But you're going to lose all your privileges to come back to India, or your property in India will seize it. The Canadian government is also can question you if you get your refugee status here, but yeah, then you want to go back to your home country to visit your family or get your land or your whatever you have there. They're going to question you if you're so afraid of going back to your country that you'll be killed or you'll be tortured. Why are you going back? And if the Modi government, doesn't let you back in, obviously, because no country in the world wants their citizens to go over and misrepresent their country in any way. So I think the government is different, and these people right now, the students who are applying as refugees, they got their hands full. It's not as easy as they thought it was before. It would take 12, 13, 14 years sometimes for the case to be heard, either to be accepted as a refugee or to be declined as a refugee. Right now, even the Canadian government has fast tracked this because they don't want to put a burden on a taxpayer. I, as a taxpayer, Darshini, you as a taxpayer, would you want your tax dollar going to people who are bogus, who are fraud?
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
So this is going to be a long-term issue unless action is taken quickly at the Canadian end.
I don't see an end to this, Darshanji, because as we said earlier, as we discussed, the noose is getting tighter on the student's neck. So, I mean, the Canadian government is not saying that you can't come as a student. They want the genuine student to come in, but people who are actual students who are gonna be studying the in-demand subjects that will lead to in-demand occupation. So if for example, I need technicians for my company, I can't find them. I think we have enough people in Canada right now, enough students, for example, or visitors to work in our fast food restaurants, in our general labor jobs. I think we
Right.
have enough of them. We need specialized people, some people with skills, some people who can, put something or give us something back by contributing to our economy. I think you can still come as a student, you can still come as a visitor, but the refugees, I think the Canadian government is pretty well aware who's a true refugee or not. But I think their hands are kind of tied with
Mm.
with the law that we have. That
Mm.
once somebody comes to our airport, somebody comes to Canada, they set their foot on our soil and say that I'm a refugee. I'll be killed, I'll be tortured if I go back. I don't think we send them back. That's my opinion. Of course, people out there might have their own opinions about it.
No, this is a very useful information. And when I saw it in the afternoon, I immediately thought we should bring it to more people. So thank you once again for your time today.
It was my pleasure of being with you again.
Thank you. See you.